This is WCPO 9 News.
Thanks for joining us for WCPO 9 News. I'm Adrian Whitsett. Here's a look at some of today's top stories happening today. If you can drive a car in Indiana, you can get a COVID-19 vaccine. Anyone 16 and up is eligible now, just 2 days after the state opened appointments to anyone 30 and older. Those eligible can schedule appointments by going to ourshot.in.gov or by calling 211. Also today, it is back to class for Cincinnati public school students. Today, the first day of the school year that all students will be able to attend in-person class 5 days a week. The only exception is Walnut Hills High School, where students are being phased back in this weekend next. Social distancing remains at 6 feet in places like the lunchrooms, and per the CDC's latest recommendation, just 3 or more feet in classrooms with kids masked. A former government building is being turned into apartments to serve more than 100 families in Covington. 303 Court Street used to be the Kenton County Government Building with a jail on the top floors. The $31.4 million transformation will add 2 new floors. The mix of studio 1 and 2 bedroom apartments will include balconies, and construction is starting in July with a goal of having this all up and running by the summer of 2023. Austin.
Well, it looks like some cooler temperatures, at least for today, compared to yesterday. We saw some 70s yesterday, and today we're in the 40s and 50s with some cloudy skies for the afternoon, and it is going to be a little breezy with winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles an hour. Tonight, temperatures continue to drop. We do have a freeze warning in effect for all the purple shaded counties until 11 o'clock in the morning, and that means temperatures are going to be in the 20s for tomorrow, with feel-like temperatures in the teens and 20s, and it won't get much warmer. Here's your forecast, at least for that Reds opening day game. We're looking at 39 degrees with a few flurries out there. It is going to be quite chilly before warming up for the weekend.
Guys, this is certainly a sigh of relief for a lot of parents who have been working on educating their child while trying to work from home as well. But returning to the classroom does have its challenges too. That's why returning full-time is just an option. The Cincinnati Digital Academy is still offered to students as well as distance learning through Schoology. Previously, students were going in class 2 days a week. Now, the same rules still apply. Social distancing remains at 6 feet in places like lunchrooms, and per the CDC's latest recommendation, just 3 or more feet in classrooms when those kids are masked. And you better believe they're still required to wear masks in all classrooms. Principal Angel Roddy over at Mount Airy School says that teachers were back in their classrooms yesterday, making sure desks were spaced out, everything was sanitized, and that they had supplies in place to keep kids safe.
The kids are really excited to come back. They miss their friends. They miss the normalcy of it. So we're really super excited to have them back. I think the parents are more excited than the teachers. Yeah, they're excited. They've had them at home for a while. They're ready for them to get back into their regular routines.
All Cincinnati public school students are returning to class except for those at Walnut Hills that are actually being phased in both this week and next week. And they're actually testing a pilot program at Walnut Hills where students can stay home for distance learning but then remote in to their specific classrooms. It's called concurrent learning, and if it goes well, it could be an option for all students next year. Reporting in Mount Washington, Allie Kramer, WCPO 9 News.
Here we are at the start of a new Cincinnati Reds baseball season, but for many local fans, the season's already slipping away because they can no longer watch the games. Nothing says spring like a Reds game on TV.
This will score another.
But for many fans at home, their screens have gone dark. Thousands of Reds fans this week have their Reds gear on, they've got their smart TV on, and they're finding there's no way to stream the games.
And we have to pay out of pocket another $100 a month.
Caroline Duffy, a member of the Rosie Reds, has been watching the team for 40 years, lately streaming the games on YouTube TV. But YouTube, Hulu, and other streaming services will no longer carry the games after a dispute with Fox Sports, now being renamed Bally Sports. Caroline's upset.
You can go to Spectrum, but I was trying not to have to change my streaming service again.
We checked with the Reds, who referred us to the website getmyhometeams.com. You enter your zip code, in this case 45202, and learn you can watch the games on Cincinnati Bell Optics, DirecTV, or Spectrum. There is one freestanding streaming option, AT&T TV, formerly DirecTV Now. AT&T starts at $69 a month. Caroline says she may just have to gather around 700 WLW radio, just like her grandpa did. With the changeover from Fox Sports to Bally Sports, analysts say it's possible that Bally could reach a new deal with the streamers later this year. As always, don't waste your money. I'm John Matteries. Good morning, Tri-State.
Today, President Joe Biden will unveil his infrastructure plans for the country. The president's plans will focus on repairing roads, bridges, railways, and water systems. The White House says the president will also outline how he plans to pay for it all. The overhaul is reported to cost more than $3 trillion. Lawmakers and economists are concerned the plan will require steep tax hikes. The president plans to lay out the second half of his plan aimed at childcare, paid family leave, and health care later next month. Derek Chauvin's murder trial continues today. A Minneapolis firefighter who voiced frustration at being prevented from using her EMT training to help George Floyd will be back on the stand after an emotional day in court yesterday.
I told them, if he doesn't have a pulse, you need to start compressions, and that wasn't done either.
When you couldn't do that, how did that make you feel?
Totally distressed.
Were you frustrated?
Yes.
Other witnesses described the panic and emotions they felt watching Chauvin kneel on Floyd's neck that day.
I was sad and kind of mad.
And tell us, why were you sad and mad?
Because it felt like he was stopping his breathing, and it kind of like hurting him.
Chauvin's defense attorney argued the emotional crowd was distracting and threatening to the officers. 2 Capitol Police officers are suing former President Donald Trump over the January 6th riots. The lawsuit accuses Trump of inciting the crowd. Officers James Blasingame and Sidney Hemby are both seeking $75,000 in damages. Officer Hemby says he was crushed against the doors of the Capitol and sprayed with chemicals. Officer Blasingame claims he suffered head and back injuries. Trump has not responded to the lawsuit, but previously denied any responsibility for the attack.
Millions of Americans have had their student loan payments paused for the past year. The pause for people like Anna Garcia has meant hundreds of dollars a month she got to keep for other needs during this pandemic.
This past year really tested us in terms of finances.
Garcia owes just over $99,000 in student loan debt. For the past few years, she has been paying $250 a month to chip away at that debt. And just before the pandemic, her payments were going to nearly double.
I was looking at making an additional $350 payment per month as the pandemic was about to start, and then they stopped those payments. So that actually really saved me.
Garcia put the $600 a month that was earmarked for student loans into savings instead. And after a few months, her fiance had an idea for that money.
And he just kind of threw it out there like, why don't we just go ahead and start planning the wedding?
They had been engaged for a while but didn't have any extra income to put toward a wedding. However, with that $600 a month in addition to their stimulus checks, they could now afford a small one.
Quite frankly, with the coronavirus and all the restrictions, we wanted to keep it small. We wanted to keep it intimate. So we saw that opportunity as well, and we just decided to go for it. So we got married in November 25th of last year with our closest friends and family.
The wedding cost them around $8,000, almost exactly what she would have paid this past year in student loan repayment.
We were able to get everything that we wanted in that wedding. Nothing was out of the question. We got everything, and everything came together so beautifully.
After the wedding, she has still put aside the $600 each month and continued to strategize on how to better use those dollars, recently deciding to invest the money in the stock market to hopefully grow it.
Our conversations with money have definitely changed in the past year also. It's not just about saving up our money, but it's also about making that money work for us.
And maybe it works for you enough that it could help you repay those student loans.
Exactly.
Student loan debt relief gave one woman an opportunity to marry the love of her life and potentially now a better shot at paying down her student loan debt faster. For others, it's been a lifeline to buy food or keep the lights on when jobs have been lost and new ones are hard to come by. The relief has been extended by Congress until at least September 30th of this year. I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
A genocide survivor is using her own story to help others be resilient against hatred. The Cat I Never Named is a story about the Bosnian genocide, and it's getting a lot of attention for its parallels to current events.
On a good day, a friend of a friend died. On a bad day, someone in my family died.
To understand her story, you have to picture Amra Shabic El Reyes as a teenager in Bosnia in 1992. Her childhood was unlike any other. In fact, she says back then she often wondered what other teens were experiencing rather than her reality.
I lived for 1,150 days under Serb military siege with no food, with no access to electricity, to the outside world. We were bombed daily.
They saw horrific things. Amra tells the story of a cat that befriended them.
And in one moment, we hear Matsi crying out for us. We call her. She didn't want to come out and join us. So my younger brother Dino, and I step away for a second. And in that moment, the bomb hits and blows up 4 of our friends.
That cat would one day be a focal point and the title of her future book. Amra says education was her survival, her second chance at life. She made it to the United States, she says, a shell of a human, broken, standing in front of an immigration officer with a few dollars in her pocket.
And after a long time of him looking through my documents, having a very serious face, he reached out with his hand, touched the fingertips of my hand, and said, "Ma'am, welcome to the United States of America. I am sorry for what happened to you. You're safe now."
That shell of a human would later get 2 master's degrees and a doctorate. She would become a professor at Columbia University's Teachers College, and she would write a book about how she survived hate.
Do you hate the Serbians for what was done to you and your friends and your family?
Hatred is paralyzing. It is self-destructive as much as it is destructive.
She said she was too exhausted from persecution to hate back.
Hatred has one final destination, and it is always genocide, and it is always killing and violence. And hatred is a choice. None of us are immunized against hatred. Hatred is not exclusive to any one group of people.
Her goal is for readers to experience her stories and make a memorable difference.
What happened in Bosnia, genocide against Bosnian Muslims, was solely based on our identity and othering. And I see the same narrative, I see the same movie playing over again in the United States of America. And that is what compelled me to write the story.
She believes hate never has a happy ending. As America recovers, she hopes the happy ending will be one of hope over hate, of love and triumph over fear and anger.
We all have a place here. We're all equally American and love this wonderful country. And we need to do more to stop the hatred that is on the rise.
I'm Stephanie Stone, reporting.
Mary Watkins feels strongly about getting her yearly mammogram on time and equally passionate about getting the COVID-19 vaccine. She recently found out the timing of the vaccine can affect mammogram reads.
If you tell your technician, then they can be on the lookout for whatever swelling there might be in the lymph node.
Doctors say a COVID-19 vaccine can cause swelling in those lymph nodes, so they've started to look for secondary signs of breast cancer during annual mammograms.
We don't just look at abnormalities within the breast tissue, we also look at things like the skin and the lymph nodes in the underarm area.
Dr. Courtney Hoy is a breast radiologist. She's seeing firsthand the complications the COVID vaccine can create in spotting signs of breast cancer.
It's a little bit less with the Pfizer. It's about 10 to 15% with the Moderna, but about 10 to 15% of the people will have a temporary swelling of the lymph nodes.
The problem with that for your doctor is that you will have new swollen lymph nodes on one side. Her advice is to weigh it all and to know that timing is key.
Not having any issues, you haven't delayed your mammogram for more than a year. We are saying that you can push back your mammogram by 4 to 6 weeks. You can either get it after your first dose, so 4 weeks after your first dose, before your second dose, or you can wait, if you're in between doses, you can wait 4 to 6 weeks after your second dose.
Well, looks like some cooler weather moving in, at least for the remainder of the work week. Yesterday we saw some 70s, and today we are stuck in the 40s and 50s. Fortunately, the rain chances do decrease throughout the day. We'll see some cloudy skies, though, for the afternoon, with winds topping out around 15 or even 20 miles an hour. So a bit of a cool, cloudy, and even blustery afternoon forecast before dropping once again for tonight. Temperatures will be dropping down to around the 20s, and that means a freeze warning in effect for parts of the tri-state. That's the purple shaded counties until 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. And so if you are an early riser, expect temperatures in the 20s with feel-like temperatures in the teens and 20s, and it won't get much warmer, at least for tomorrow. Opening day baseball is going to be feeling more like winter. 39 degrees out there. A couple snowflakes could fall with winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles an hour, feeling more like the 20s. But here's a look at the 9-day forecast with some warmer temperatures on the horizon for both Saturday and Sunday.
From lockdowns to economic pain, small businesses all over are facing similar challenges during the pandemic. Now, one nonprofit is helping small business owners find ways to help one another. When it comes to bowling, hitting the pins often comes down to skill and sometimes a little luck.
When you're losing money, every dollar that you can bring in, helps stretch out, the possibility of you making it.
Rick Novak is the owner of the Royal Family Bowling Center and nearby Royal Cinemas in the town of Front Royal, Virginia. Two small businesses that require people to survive.
Initially, it started off very slowly.
That's because pandemic restrictions initially shut down both businesses before leading to more limited numbers allowed recently. He's held on to his employees, but it hasn't been easy.
I am frustrated at the moment. I don't really know what to do exactly, but I know that this isn't working.
There are more than 30 million small businesses in America, and the pandemic has not been kind to many of them. Right now, there are more than 160,000 small businesses that have closed because of COVID-19.
We were hearing from a lot of small business owners that were struggling and didn't know kind of where their voice was being heard.
So Victor Rogers and other business partners stepped in to form the Alliance to Save the American Dream.
We're small businesses helping small businesses.
It's a nonprofit that, through an online portal, offers resources and helps to connect small business owners around the country with each other to exchange ideas and offer advice to weather the COVID-19 era.
There's an old adage that says, you don't follow a general who doesn't have scars. So we have kind of experienced our own life experiences and business experiences, and we want to share those in what works.
Among those small business owners who tapped in, Rick Novak.
They're sharing tips and tricks that others have used. I mean, one of the neat things that's come out of all this is that we are all talking to each other more, even as competitors. We're like, hey, I tried this, you should try it.
Novak hopes that with vaccine rollouts, people will begin venturing out more, especially to movie theaters. A tough sell right now.
There are lots of folks that are still frightened. I really think that people want to get out of their homes.
And eventually get back into a sense of normalcy. In Front Royal, Virginia, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
number 1, give hugs, not pushes.
This young author in Texas published his own book to teach kids about the power of being kind and respectful. 6th grader Ethan wrote Welcome to Niceville. The book is about a town that tries to maintain a friendly and non-bullying environment.
So I thought it would be cool to write a bullying book to teach younger generations about bullying and why it's important to know about.
For the kids who are being bullied, Ethan wants them to know that they should not be afraid and to speak up.
Bullying is hurtful in many ways, and it can leave an impact on many people.
They are creative, courageous, innovative, mischievous, but very loving, all at the same time.
This 12-year-old put his creative skills on paper. Joshua wrote the book titled The Coulson's Family, The Family of Peace. He's an only child, but his story is about a family of 11.
This book of their experiences takes you on a journey through the life of a large family that laughs, cries, prays, and fellowships together. I wanted to share the story with other kids because I want to encourage them that they can also write as well.
This 9-year-old girl in Texas wrote not just 1, but 2 books. Evelyn says her first book was inspired by her rescue dog, Rocky.
It is called Captain Paws and is about a stray dog who gets zapped and turns into a super dog.
The second book was inspired by her classmate's cat. She said she decided to write the books to entertain herself during the pandemic.
My greatest ideas and inventions come from when I'm not watching TV or reading a book.